Yes, and I am recording.
All right, good. You can see me, right? You
I
can
can
hear
see,
me.
I can hear
I've
it.
pushed all the right buttons on my side. Good.
I was thinking that old commercial. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Old cell phone commercial. Remember, cell
That's
phones used
right.
to drop all the time. Well, of
Yes.
course, maybe I was living in Whitman County. Maybe that was why.
Oh man, it's still a continuing saga of who has the best coverage, and
Yeah.
the reality is they're all bad. So yep,
Who's your
yep,
internet
fun
provider
times.
and how many gigs are you getting or megs are you getting now?
So we have Wi-Fiber that was Cascades Computing.
Yeah.
Uh, and we've used them forever. And I don't know, I've threatened to move a couple of times. Um, but it's interesting. Everyone that the only real viable alternative for where we're at is Starlink.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Really?
and
Wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Starlink has really good, they have really great speeds,
Yeah.
top speeds, but they also have consistent problems with latency. And
Oh,
so
okay.
every once in a while, they'll like drop completely for 30 seconds and
Mm-hmm.
then, kick back up. So we use Wi-Fiber. It seems like most of the time I think I pay for a 25 meg plan. I think
Yeah.
when I test, most of the time it's somewhere between 8 and 10.
Yeah.
Um, but we also realize that uh, we have probably 10 devices at any given time that are trying to pull from stuff, whether it's updating systems
Yeah.
or somebody stole
Yeah.
mom's phone and somebody else has an iPad, and
Yeah.
we're like, where are Dane and Olivia? Oh, they're both on phones and video chatting with friends and all these things all
Yeah.
the time. I'm like, we're heavy consumers out in the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I uh
So
I had too much. I dialed it back because we had way more than we needed. So I'm doing
yeah.
50 now, which is plenty.
But are you in a spot where you can get like other, yeah,
I could get up
pretty
to a
good.
gig.
Yeah, geez.
So
That's
I had 200 and I was like, yeah, I felt all cool, and I'm like, I
yeah.
don't I don't need it. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like you, you'd
Mm-hmm.
probably do the same thing even if you didn't need it. You'd flex. You'd probably have a gig coming into your house just to say, yep,
I probably would, just in case,
just in case.
you know, so I wouldn't have to be watching World Cup matches
Oh,
in grainy, delayed coverage. But it
yes.
is what it is.
I remember those days. Well,
Yeah.
hey, have you had a chance to think about what you want to be coached around today?
Yes, but I meant to ask you because the things that are top of my mind are a little bit more abstract, and so I thought, are these even really topics that you would that are really within the realm of uh, coaching, or is it more like, hey, just straight up advice, type thing?
Hey,
But
I'm up for it. I can't tell you.
okay.
I don't know if Trump is a Christian. I don't think he is. Uh, but I don't want to judge anybody's soul. Let's see what else.
No, no, we're not going to debate the sovereignty of God
Okay,
and
good, good.
yeah,
Yeah,
and things that only
tulip.
He knows.
Yeah,
Tulip, yeah, exactly. Let's talk about the Synod of Dort and
yeah,
really
exactly.
reformed. Although interestingly enough, that's taken us down a path through these comments of one of the two topics that I was thinking of, and one of them is just, it's interesting for me over the last few months in particular. I mean, you know my history. You know that
Yeah,
Cheryl and I, probably unlike the majority of Christians our age in particular,
yeah,
we have had opportunity to dive deeply into church and doctrine in a way that I'm not saying my experiences have been on par with someone with a, seminary degree. That's not necessarily the case at all. But I would say through our efforts to help plant and a few different churches
Oh yeah.
and support early stage churches,
Yeah.
and all the way up through just trying to be quite involved with established churches. And then some of my early areas of study, considering for a period of time, maybe going to youth ministry and everything else, that whole range in between. We have had some opportunity to probably dig a little bit deeper, get a little bit more experience than a lot of folks, especially
Yeah, for
40
sure.
somethings in Whitman County.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And over the last few months, as I've had a little bit more time again or been concerned about how I structure my time as
Yeah.
well, right? Um, Opportunity to study more extensively on doctrinal topics. I think the other thing is that since you left Oakdale, I've had more regular opportunity to preach as well,
Yeah,
just to do pulpit
absolutely. Amen.
supply, and so yeah, which has
Bet.
been great, a lot of fun, a huge blessing for me. But yeah, so one of it was just kind of one of my ideas about coaching this session was just a little bit more about maybe your perspective on not only the importance of going a little bit deeper and challenging yourself on understanding the depths of the mystery of God, right,
Yeah.
and His Word, but then also what to do with that, or frankly, what then, if you feel that as a lay person, we as Christians have any obligations to do something with that, that deeper knowledge that we're pursuing as well. So that was one topic. My other thought was just to talk a little bit more about knowing that my full-time employment is coming to an end soon with the bank.
Yeah.
What your feedback was on, again, the obligation of finding any means of financially providing for my family versus continuing to try and preserve some flexibility to pursue my passions
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
vocation as well.
Yeah. My
So
hunch
there
is
you go.
my hunch is that we should pursue the second question because I think we could tackle the first one as friends.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and I
All right,
and I
I'm
think
for it.
I think the first question is also a broader one in terms of you can ask that question again in 6 months. But
Yeah,
what you need right now is to figure out your employment situation and to get
yeah,
maybe even a vision established for what that could look like. Even just mentally and spiritually wrapping yourself around this notion of how do I flex? What do I compromise on? What's important to us, right? Is that kind of the range of questions that you're thinking through
it
right now?
is. It is, and I'll give you a practical example. That might be a good way to unpack some stuff as well. So last week I actually had an interview with University of Idaho
Yeah.
for a position that's with their development team, which is a nice way of saying going asking people for money, right?
Okay.
Their fundraising, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Um, and it's one that would be that's a director of strategic partnerships and planning specifically for foundations.
Yeah.
So typically the nonprofit arm of either big successful corporations or just family offices,
Yeah.
where rich people, as a way to preserve their philanthropy, have set up foundations, everything else. So what's interesting is I was kind of preparing for that, and I'm waiting on next steps from them. So they may pass me by and it may become a non-issue. But as I was preparing
Yeah.
for that, it was interesting to me in that part of the thought process I was going through was this kind of emotional cycle of, I think this is a job I'd be really interested in. I think it's a job that I could be successful in.
Yeah.
And yet having a little bit of skepticism that I actually want the job, uh, because I sense that it would impact the flexibility I have to pursue my own business that I've now put my own startup activity that I've now put some thought into. So I was wrestling with that, with that and going, hey, here's a good opportunity for a decent job, in this region, um, and one that I think I would be good at and enjoy. And
Yeah.
yet, am I really not putting my all into it because it would disrupt now this vision I have for maybe launching my own thing, which may not pay me anything for a period of time as well. And so that's kind of my latest practical example, and one of the reasons that I thought, hey, maybe it'd be
Yeah.
worthwhile bringing up as a topic for you and I.
But what I would love to do is just dive deeper into the question underneath it, which is talk to me a little bit about the balance between following your dreams and being a provider, because knowing you, I think this is a tension that you've really lived out of for a long time and probably explored a lot more than most people our age. But
Yeah,
maybe kind of talk
yeah,
to me about that, your history with that tension and where you're at with it now.
um, yeah, absolutely. So, certainly, certainly, my family has a history on both sides, my mother and my father's side. My family, as well as extended family,
Yeah.
of being uh, hard workers, mostly blue collar. I'm not aware of any. I'm not aware of any family history of real severe poverty.
Okay.
Um, certainly living through some down times in Dust Bowl agriculture, and times were tough for a lot of my family through different stages, generations back. But really, some history on both sides of 3 or 4 generations back, being enterprising and finding ways, even if it was through hard labor, enterprising and finding ways to provide for their family in ways that kept them out of abject poverty as well. So some of that is carried forward, just a knowledge that I've got, ancestry that's been creative in terms of finding ways to take care of the family. But also, for me, Eric, it's been partly just uh, a drive personally for me to, in whatever I'm doing, um, you know, being as being the best, right? Achieving the full potential of what I can in that role. And so I frame it that way because for me, it's not it's not necessarily this drive to feel like I have to be in charge, that I have to achieve being the boss. It's also not any particular dollar figure that I'm driving toward, that I felt compelled to drive towards. Instead, it's really um, you know being part of the A team, right? In whatever I'm doing, giving it my all and making sure I achieve my potential, knowing earlier in my career that should lead to advancement potential, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily for advancement potential sake as much as it was you know, just achieving my full potential.
Yeah.
Um, Now, early on in my marriage with Cheryl, when we had, like $15 of discretionary income a month, yeah, knowing that I was capable of earning a bigger paycheck was a motivating factor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for a few years now, it's been less about a dollar figure and more about wanting to make sure I continue to gain the experience and success in the roles. That's probably been the biggest point of the biggest challenge for me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like this isn't even linked in as much with a specific field of work or a specific job that you're looking for, as much as if I'm hearing you right, you're saying that you really want to work somewhere where you feel like you can be part of an A team, part of high
Yep.
performers, that you
Yep.
can be high performing.
Yes.
But it doesn't sound like, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, it kind of sounds like that's the vision as far as like, that's it. Like, you just want to be doing a great job at something.
Yes. Yes. That's the biggest drive.
Yeah.
Now, again, it's easy for me to say that when that something for a number of years has paid the bills.
Oh,
So
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be uh I don't want to be the greatest line worker at McDonald's, because even if I achieve the top, I know that's got a ceiling on the earnings, probably,
Yeah.
that in a way that I'm not interested. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I want to make sure that I have opportunity for continued growth, and continued achievement, whatever it is that I'm doing.
Yeah. And if we could bracket out your performance and just assume you're going to do an awesome job and work hard, what are you drawn
Yeah.
to? I mean, let's just assume you're going to do a great job. What kinds of roles are you drawn to?
Um, what I've what I have what I've really recognized about myself, especially over the last, let's say, 5 years, um, is that I'm drawn to strategic planning and development.
Yeah.
I'm drawn to kind of entrepreneurial growth. So the idea of taking a concept from nothing to something, and again, that what that something is less about a specific number or a specific size, and more about, had an idea, we brought it to fruition, got it to a point where it's manageable,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to turn that over to a groundskeeper, right? Someone who can manage what's there while I go look for the next thing to build. And then the other thing is, I I really like teaching. I really
Yeah.
like teaching and speaking, and not necessarily. I mean, at one point, I thought I was going to be an actual classroom teacher. I was going to go, uh, get my certificate and be in the schools. And I found that there's still, schools, at least in Washington, there's still these layers of bureaucracy that I didn't realize existed. And that kind of crushed my pure
Yeah.
vision of what an educator
Yeah.
really was. I've joked about that with Jake too, over the years, but it doesn't mean that I don't have a passion for teaching and education. Um,
Yeah.
and I found opportunity even in my corporate roles. One of the reasons I love the opportunity to preach at church as well was that you can be a teacher in many different capacities outside of the um, outside of a classroom.
Yeah. So let's do something. I think this could be really fun. This will be a fun exercise. Instead of thinking about the next step, let's build out 5 years. Tell me about your ideal situation 5 years from now. If you could dream, don't be constrained by probability. Don't be constrained by um, any self-limiting beliefs. Just tell me about what, if you, in your ideal world, what would you be doing in 5 years and how much money would you be making?
My ideal world in 5 years, I would not be doing one job. I would be doing the components I'm most passionate about in multiple jobs.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be punching a clock 9 to 5 or 7 to 5 or 7 to 7, whatever that look like, right? For
Yeah.
one thing, it would be contributing in multiple aspects to multiple projects that I'm passionate about. So I would love for that to be something like, hey, I'm an executive leader. I won't even necessarily say EEO. I don't have this burning desire to be the person in charge, right? But I would say I'd be, an executive leader for a business that I helped start, that I brought from concept through development to fruition. I would, and in particular, right, that role would be part of a strategic development team, strategic planning, because I think that's the part that I like. Planning for, what we need to do, where we're going to be,
Yeah.
laying down the foundations for building programs and products and services from scratch. And then
Yeah.
again, once those are built and off the ground, turn them over to a manager, right? And while I go look for the next thing to build. So part of that would be part of the strategic executive team for a business of my own. Having some regular opportunity to teach or speak. If I could find some, this is going to sound cheesy, but even in some light of like, motivational speaking or being called, developing an opportunity to go speak to, corporate retreats that want to bring someone in to inspire their sales teams.
I don't think that's cheesy, Josey. I think that's very valid. I don't think that's a cheesy dream at all. I think it's a very valid dream. Yeah.
I've never pictured myself as a stereotypical motivational speaker. I'm not a hard sell guy, but I'm a passionate guy.
Yeah.
And so, doing something like that would be ideal. And then if I could, when you look at numbers, Eric, here's the other thing, based on where I'm at today, right? In 5 years, if I were making a salary of $200,000 to $250,000, I would be over the moon.
Yeah.
But for me, it's probably even less about achieving a certain salary I'll be honest. It's as much as achieving a certain salary would be fulfilling. I think I'm at a point in my life where having an equity stake in something larger than myself is what is becoming more and more important, right? Some sort of residual income or investment in something, that has future value as I look towards retirement years and, continuing to help my kids make it through college and other stuff, right? So,
Interesting that you set talk to me a little bit about the financial number you set, because for an ideal salary, it seems a little bit low. I'm saying if you could really dream about your ideal salary, what would it be?
I don't have want for much more.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think the reason I talk about, either passive income or equity in the future is because I certainly want to reach a point where I can enjoy my retirement, where if Cheryl and I want to take off to Greece for 3 weeks on a whim, that we could, that type of thing. So a lot of it is stacking the deck towards future fulfillment. But I mean, in terms of right now, I genuinely don't want to, genuinely not interested in earning high enough cash flow that puts me at risk of blowing through that cash flow, right? And not necessarily preserving something for the future. I don't know. I don't know what I would, and I think that's my biggest concern. That's my biggest risk for where we're at right now. If I had a discretionary $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 a month in my lap, maybe I'd drive a nicer car. Maybe I'd take my wife out to dinner more frequently. But I would not want to be in a position where I'm at risk of spoiling my kids and not teaching them good work ethic because everything's taken care of for them.
Yeah.
I would not want to be in a position where I'm losing the motivation to work hard or try and figure out how to troubleshoot vehicle issues myself, right, or something. I don't want to reach the point where it's all about the pursuit of money and not caring about, putting some of the hard work in myself as well. And so,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I
yeah.
think
Anyway,
no, but I mean to sort of align with that, I've thought I think it'd be better for me to win 5 million in the lottery than 500. I mean, I think it would be a better life for me in the long run.
yeah,
For me to be forced to have skin in the game and to have a job and to do things I don't want to do. I
yeah.
mean, I kind of get where you're coming from in the sense of enough to live comfortably, but without so much that you start to lose perspective or that your kids grow up without knowing the value of money, that they don't grow
I
up with
mean,
having a work ethic, etc.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I mean, my kids are already spoiled, honestly. Now, hopefully they're not spoiled brats. I think they're pretty good kids, right? So there's a fine line there, maybe. And they're having to put some skin in the game to figure out how to afford going to college.
Yeah.
We're discussing means to help them without covering the whole thing, without them having to think about
Yeah.
what's the best use of that money, and what's the best use of going through the course of being disciplined in, I guess, how they select a university, or knowing that they need to work hard for grades so they can get scholarships, or those types of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I'm for the reality is I'm still probably a far bit off from that threshold of living comfortably to being wealthy, right? That's still a ways out. But yeah, I mean,
If you could
I
wave a
don't want
wand,
to.
it sounds like if you could wave a wand, you'd make 250 to 300 a year.
Yeah,
Take home 20,000 a month after taxes.
yeah,
And have your expenses paid, and then have money to invest, and then take a trip. Take Cheryl somewhere, or take the whole family somewhere nice if you want to.
yeah. That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And then if I could retire at 60,
Yeah.
and because we've got enough in the bank or equity in something, and then and I do want to be able to enjoy my retirement. I do want to be able to, ideally, if I'm dreaming, I would love to be the dad and the grandfather that's able to randomly call up the extended family and say, hey, guess what, we're all meeting here on this date and I'm covering the whole thing, so no excuses.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
yeah, but it for me, it is more about preservation for the future rather than just having cash to burn right now.
Yeah. I think to reflect back to your goals here, I think it's going to cause you to move into some kind of, like you've mentioned, entrepreneurial role.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have a real gift and skill set for that. I think you have an ability to create things that most people don't have. Most people want to be told, do this, this, and this, and then they'll do it, and they'll get a paycheck and they'll be fine with that. But you have a desire to create new things.
Yes.
Which is
Yes.
awesome. And I think that's a totally valid and really exciting 5-year goal. So in 5 years, you would love to make $20,000 or $30,000 a month owning a business, but not working at the business, but working on the business, meaning you're not a glorified employee. You're trying to figure out new projects to take on and new ways for the business to grow or start other businesses.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So to be someone who can grow something enough that then you can hire people to keep it going, so that you're freed up then to start something new. So what I'm saying is the vision that you're setting forth is one of creating, and I don't think you would ever be fully satisfied unless you have that in your future. Like, I'm going to be able to create something. I'm going to be able to create something. But I think even if you created something really successful, it sounds to me like you would stand on that and still want to say, I want to create something now. Like it's in your blood is what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I think I'm a builder, not a groundskeeper.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
When that's totally valid. So that's your 5-year dream. And I think with that as the dream, maybe it puts a little less pressure on the immediate decision, because I think whatever happens can be in service of that 5-year dream, whatever your next move is.
I I think so too, and that's the approach that I've taken. That's the perspective I've tried to keep in place. I mean, I think even if I were to get out of the industry I know best, right, banking and financial services, even if I were to get out of that for a period of time, as long as whatever I was doing was still helping me to build the skill
Yeah.
sets, right? Whether it's leadership,
Yeah.
whether it's learning another industry that's adjacent, that gives me different perspective. I mean, those are all the things that I think are driving my focus right now.
Yeah. Because the Lord can use anything you do next to give you the training that you need to do what you ultimately want to do.
Yeah.
Because my next question was going to be, what learning do you need? Do you need to, what learning do you need? Who do you need to connect with to figure out how to create what you want to create? Who do you need to connect with to figure out how to get access to the capital that you want to get access to? And what sort of, as you think about building up this 5-year vision, who do you need to be connecting with, or who do you need to be learning from?
Yeah. And that is the fact that I'm a builder, and it's interesting. I think I know why so many entrepreneurial type people still struggle and fail. Or I think I have an idea, right? Because for me, um, there's not a single pathway. Like my vision, even my ideal vision is flexible enough to
Yeah.
where uh, there are 42 doors I could walk through.
Mhm.
It's not, oh, this is the one person I need to get to know. This is the one course I need to take. This is the
Yeah.
one. I mean, um, I'm uh, I'm I'm not resistant to resistance, I guess is the thing. And I believe firmly that I can find a way. And so what that means for me is that I can't chase all the ways, right? Even though there's 42 different pathways, I can't spend 6 months walking down each and every one of those to see which one's the most favorable. Um, but it does mean that I've got to still discipline myself to find the uh, likely paths of either least resistance or greatest success. I mean, um, and dive into those and go, all right, I picked my pony. Here we go. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the most perfect path, but it's the one that looks like it has the most promising upside, and then I'll make adjustments as I go.
Yeah. I think though, if I can reflect that back to you, I think I guess I would say, what's the danger of thinking that your own discipline can get it done? Or what's the danger in thinking that you can figure out the way on your own?
Mm, I think the dangers are, I mean, there will always be variables out of my control. So the dangers are that I will, having that confidence will risks making me lazy in thinking,
Mm.
oh well, this is likely a successful path, so I'm going to start running down it, and not being aware of some of the, not paying as close attention as I should to either the planning that should have gone in before I start running down that path,
Yeah.
or the obstacles along the way that I'm not giving the right amount of attention to.
Yeah, I get that. I just see with this blue collar background, maybe a real self-reliance that's a really high value. And I'm wondering if there's some really successful people that you could get connected to just to pick their brains a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I think that that would be good, because you're absolutely right. I've never been afraid to grind. I've never been afraid to put in the time and the hard work myself to make something happen. Um, but especially along the pathway of like this 5-year goal we've talked about, just because I can put in the just because I can be the one that actually is grinding away at it doesn't mean I should be. Doesn't mean that's the most effective use of my time. And sometimes I had to let things go, uh, or force myself to find the most efficient solution,
Yeah.
even if it's only a 90% solution rather than 100% of what I want, in favor of, getting through that milestone and moving towards the next.
Or even having some people who've done it be able to map out a pathway for you to help you
Mm-hmm.
figure out what door to go through. I mean, if there's
Mm-hmm.
65 doors,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I wonder if
Uh,
there's somebody, a very successful gentleman in his 60s, who's just waiting for a Josey to, as you would be in 20 years, assuming you're successful, wanting to impart your own wisdom, because what you said is you have this desire to teach.
yeah,
And I guess what I'm saying is maybe there's someone who has a desire to teach you.
yeah, absolutely. That would be great. So yeah, finding some sort of mentor.
Yeah, or
Not
even
sure I know
even
how
a
to do
group. I
that.
mean, it could be like a sales kind of thing where you have to cold call 10 people to find a couple that'll have a conversation, and then one of those is really good and turns out. Could be the Lord ordains it right off the bat. You find your first attempt, it's a great fit. But I'm finding a big
Mhm.
value in my coaching program because I'm talking to people who are doing it for a living, and then
Yeah,
they're able to map out a realistic way for me to make $30,000 a month in 5 years.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
then when you see them doing it too, you go, well, gosh, if they can do it, I can do it.
I do have a fear involved in that too. And I
Mm.
probably need some, I mean, not a fear in trying to find someone,
Yeah.
a fear in, I think there are lots of examples of people that have found a pathway to high net worth.
Mhm.
Um, my fear, and this may be a stereotype or a bias as well, but my fear is that a lot of people who have been successful at that have taken a path that I may conflict with as well. Because the other thing is, even though I'm have a goal in mind for money, I want to be I want to maintain my value to community. I want to maintain my value to people, and I know that business decisions can be tough, and oftentimes don't have the most favorable outcome to all people, right? But I guess uh, I want to maintain. I want to feel like throughout this pathway, I'm also maintaining a high value on character.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you might have a story about successful people that's not serving you very well.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
You may
I
want
may
to
very well.
re-examine your story about successful people, because since you want to be one, it's probably good to have a good story around what that can be like.
That it's not always climbing over the little guy to get to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Um, Hold on one sec. I'm gonna keep talking, but I'm gonna
No
step out of
problem. Go
frame for a
for it.
sec
Go for it.
because my pager is going off with.
I love it. You got a pager. I love it.
Yep, exactly. Uh, with I think it's just an alert. We're under a red flag warning here on the Poos today.
Got it.
Oh no, it's an actual fire. Interesting. Okay. Um. Yeah. So No,
Well,
that's good
one
feedback,
of
and
the
I think you're right.
roadblocks, I see one of the potential roadblocks for you is a story about what success either looks like or what it does to people or what successful people look like. I could see that as a potential roadblock.
I no, I think you're right. I think that's good feedback because I don't necessarily have it's. It would be. I don't necessarily have personal connections with anybody that I would say that's a model of what I want to achieve and who I want to
Right.
be.
Yeah.
So that's part of what I think would be important for me to find. Right? It's not just
Yeah.
um, it's not just a hey, who can help me be successful, but it's who can help me be successful because they themselves have maintained or have achieved success
Yeah.
in a way that I think preserve their high character as well.
Yeah, or just get to know some successful people and get to see the nuance in that and the range of character that people can have within that.
Yeah,
There could be value even in just getting to know some successful people just to see just that people are complicated
yeah,
and that there's not really a type of person that's successful. It's just that success happens due to a combination of intelligence and hard work and good circumstances, and then people develop their character along the way and then become who they become. But I would love to see you elevated up to, I would love to see you so supported that you're elevated up, to a higher level as opposed to scrambling and clawing your way.
yeah,
Because I think you could scramble and claw your way, but I think it would be a lot funner and easier to get connected with some successful people. And you might just have to, I can't tell you what that's going to look like for you, but you might just have to think of some people to call and introduce yourself.
yeah. I think so.
So I'd love to hear your story. Can I buy you a cup of coffee? I want to, I've been in the financial industry and I've got some ideas, and I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to learn any advice you have or any.
I'm gonna have to do an assessment of uh really I should do an assessment of the networks that I've already got in place because if I really look at it critically, I probably do have some second or third degree connections that I just haven't looked at
Yeah,
from
and
that
yeah, I had a
perspective.
great technique that we were taught because one of our assignments is to develop a life team. So we have to develop 3 or 4 people around us that will support us and what we're trying to do. But
Okay.
one of the techniques was just get your phone. Just get out your phone and just scroll from A to Z on your phone, and you'll be amazed at who you forgot that you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. That's something I'm gonna have to do. And just think of some of those connections in a different light as well.
Yeah. Because I think you have the skill set to become really wealthy. And I think you have the work ethic to become really wealthy as you define it, as you
Yeah.
define it, you
Yeah.
know. And I think you might have to take a job to pay the bills in the meantime. But I think your 5-year plan of becoming this entrepreneur is very doable for you. I just think a big key for you will be, who do you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, a lot of that, the pathway to there harkens back to some of the earlier discussions we've had in terms of trying to be very intentional with my time as well.
Yeah.
Um, that my yeah, the potential that I'm working toward is balanced with
Yeah.
and not just achieved based upon my own willingness to work hard.
Yeah. And I think you could connect with somebody who would tell you one thing that would save you hundreds of hours of grinding away.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the investment up front to get to know some people could really pay off. So,
Good.
and
All right.
I know you, so I know like I said, I know you're a grinder and I know you have ideas and you have God gives you revelation about things to do and to follow. And that's beautiful. I just think if you could leverage that with some more connections and some more support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right. That's I appreciate that feedback. That's good, because you're absolutely right. I think I was looking at some of that through probably a more cynical lens than necessarily I need to.
Oh yeah, but we all have a story about money. We all have a story about, especially if you come from a blue collar background.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
My family taught me that only bad people have money. So I'm having to unlearn that if I want to double my own income. I have to go,
Right.
oh, well, there's a lot of good people that have money, and I want to be one of them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's
But
right.
the other thing, you get excited because I talk to coaches then in this program who are making 2, 3, 4, 500,000 a year plus, and then you get excited. And I'm not all about the money either, because I still want to be pastoring in some capacity and still doing, serving the Lord that way. But when you get around people like that, you go, oh, what would that look like if I had those options financially, and if I was having that kind of impact, and that would be cool. And then you see
Yeah,
people and they're flesh and blood, and maybe they got some breaks
exactly.
along the way, but there's no reason we can't do what they did.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Good.
All right. So
Good.
your
Good.
homework is pretty straightforward from this. It's to get connected. Do you have an idea of what first steps you could take for that?
I mean, like you said, I'm probably just going to go through my phone and through my LinkedIn and do take an inventory and do an analysis of who I'm connected to, the reasons why I'm connected to them,
Yeah.
and then how I could reframe some of those, or just call them up and, like you said, ask if I can hear their story,
Yeah.
and uh, and then see who they can introduce me to as well.
And I think because as you make those connections, now you're on their mind and they're thinking, oh, and then God might bring someone along their path and they go, oh, I've got a young man that,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was talking
Absolutely.
to last week, and this is okay. I mean, it is funny how life works and how connections are made and how people get ahead and succeed and grow. It's so much is about relationships, I'm finding. So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
okay, cool. Well, this is
All
our
right. Good.
last official coaching call, but let's connect in the next couple of weeks to just talk about our own dreams for,
Okay. So yeah, we can still be friends, right?
be friends,
That's
be buddies, and then potentially maybe there's some way that we can work together as we're both building up towards our 5-year dreams,
yeah.
what we want to
Absolutely.
accomplish.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Good.
Awesome. Let me
Sounds
pray
good.
for you.
Well, thank you, sir. Okay.
I'm going to pray a blessing on you. Father, I just pray a blessing on Josey. I thank you for this good man who's a good husband, a good father, good provider. Lord, I pray that you'll give him just the job that he needs right now. And I pray, Father, that it does build towards this 5-year dream of being a very, very successful entrepreneur, someone who's involved with exciting growth activities, bringing in good income, but also having a good impact on the world. And bless their family, Lord. And I do just, again, for this next step, for this next job, Father, I pray that you'll answer their prayers sooner rather than later, Lord, for employment. And we just pray this, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks,
All right.
Eric.
I have really enjoyed our conversation, Josey. It's been really fun for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So have I.
Okay.
It's been weird. Sorry, my phone just grabbed my earbuds. So
No
I'm still
problem.
here.
No
Okay.
problem. All right.
All right. Sounds good. Talk to you later.
See you later, Josey. Bye-bye.